starting first. I'm like, yeah, that's all right.
Hi, everyone. It is so nice to be here this evening. This is a real treat for me, to be honest. This tonight is sort of the kickoff of. Oh, I see a la 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 on there. That's wonderful. We have people joining. Hello. So I'm actually really excited. This is sort of a kickoff to a series that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it really is about here at Natasha's Painted Stories. I talk a lot about creativity. On Thursday mornings, I talk with Jen Hutchins about different types of creativity. And the series I was looking to do too really centers on people who are building creative lives, creative women. And I am deeply honored right now to introduce you all, if you don't know, to an amazing artist, somebody who I had the good fortune of meeting back in, we just were talking about this, 2011, which is crazy. We were on retreats together, and I have had the opportunity to see the progression of her art, her artwork, her career over that course of time. She is an amazing painter and mixed media artist in Northern California. And I'm so excited to introduce you all to Indi Carlton. Thank you for being here with me today.
Gotcha. Yeah. So wonderful to be.
So wonderful to see you and to be able to have this conversation. I have really had the luxury of knowing you a little bit from our retreat and that, but I'd love to start by asking you, where did the love of art come from? Because so many of your pieces are the spark that lights a fire in the imagination beautifully. And there's so much depth in your work. I'd love to know where it all began.
Oh gosh, yeah, thank you. It was a really long, slow journey. I knew when I was going through junior high and high school I wanted to do art, but it was always for other people. It was not, I was on the practical path and did, what my parents wanted me to do and get the
Mhm.
serious degree and but it was always there waiting, and it was not until probably my late 20s, early 30s that I finally started giving myself permission to take a couple of classes, and online classes were just starting to get going around that time. And it was not long before we met. That's when I first started taking online classes.
Right.
And it started with art journaling. That's how I started diving into painting, really. And the art journaling slowly moved its way. I got more confident, bought some canvases, and kind of took off from there. So
I love that. Art journaling, I feel like, is such a doorway. Because it really like taps right into not just the imagination, but not just the writing. The visual portion of it is exciting, especially
yeah,
when you're coming back in.
yeah, it feels safe. It felt like I could express myself without worrying about anybody seeing it. I could make a mess. It didn't have to be any certain thing. It was just me being creative and discovering my creative voice, which I didn't trust then when I first got started. I still didn't. It's that imposter syndrome where I'm like, oh, I'm not meant to be an artist. I think it's so common with artists. And so, especially coming to it so late, I feel like I really had a lot of feelings to work through and insecurities, and that was a great way to do it. So, I really appreciate that introduction to it. Yeah.
I love that. I love too that you talked about sort of the imposter syndrome, but also the coming to it late. It's so interesting because I definitely grew up in the world of like my parents being like, that's lovely. At the time, it was writing for me when I was really young. I loved sort of the illustration and writing thing, but it was like, okay, but always have that plan B. Like, have the thing that you're actually going to focus on you can build a real career out of. So I feel like it did delay it. So I always wonder about like, did I come to it late, or did I come to it at the right time, or did I, all of those things? Do you have a feeling about that?
I
Like,
mean, and I feel like we come to it when we're meant to come to it. And if it takes us longer, then that's fine. That's part of our path. I know that I've learned so much about myself in the meantime. And so I can bring so much more to it. And I have a bit of an outside the box perspective. That's who I am anyway. I'm a bit of a rebel, and I hate conformity and I hate systems and rules. And
I
so
love
on the
that
outside,
about you.
I'm a good girl. I like to, be a people pleaser, all this, there's that side. But at the same time, because I didn't go through the traditional path of getting a degree in art, I have a little more freedom. I feel like because it's my own style that developed without any other voices telling me what art should be, and
Right.
so to me that has been a really lovely discovery, and to finally own that at this point, finally that yeah, my art isn't going to check a lot of boxes for people, and I'm totally comfortable with that. So
Yeah.
I can say that there is that uptick or upside to yeah, not going a more traditional route. So
Right.
yeah.
I love that. That's and actually, I took some notes because I didn't want to forget anything. I had so many things I wanted to ask. One of the things that you say right on your site as you come in is art as sacred rebellion against the ordinary. So
Yeah.
where was that born? Is that always, or did that develop over time? Was that
Yeah, the sacred part has been slowly developing, but that was something that I've always felt more insecure about sharing about because it's very personal. It's my private spiritual path, and in a world that is very what you see is what you get. And
Mhm.
in our there's not a lot of in the popular culture talking about other worlds and other beings and what exists beyond this physical reality. And so for me to slowly start to expressing that was it was a little bit like, oh, my voice shakes, you know, but I've
Yeah.
become more comfortable in who I am in my spiritual path, and I'm finding so many other people that also share that perspective with me, and so it's become easier, but I feel like it does still go against the grain of what a lot of people believe and feel in our society in general.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been lovely to finally feel that confidence and that sense of self to start expressing that and putting it on my website first and center. You know, it was very
Yeah.
intentional. Like
I
I'm
love
gonna say who I am, and I wanted to share that. So
Yeah, I loved it. I love that it was as soon as you come in, it is I feel like there's just it's a doorway. You're like, okay, welcome here. Come on in. Here's who I am right away. And then you're just drawn into your incredible art. And one of the things I love was that you had written when you're talking about yourself, but it's so evident in your work where you talk about humans and animals exist as co-creators, which I just my heart exploded, and expanding the way that we see the world. So much of your work does feel like a portal into
hmm.
another world or a world that's just so beautiful. Is that how did that develop? Um,
Gosh, that's just been more recent. I think I've always held the belief that humans are not at the top of a hierarchy, that we are in a relationship, and I come from an environmental ecological background, and so that's just the web of life. That is how the planet works. There's ecosystems, and we all are dependent and relate to each other and rely on each other, and so humans aren't at the pinnacle of that with dominion over. I've never come from that perspective, and
right,
so that feels very natural to work then into my art and to I paint very intuitively, and so I never know what is going to come through on my canvases when I paint, and so it's a bit of a mystery right there. But I feel like I do let whatever comes through, I allow it in, and
right,
so more recently started having these creatures or figures come through my work in the past 10 years or so that just they don't make sense necessarily,
mhm,
but I feel like that is me giving voice to whatever needs to be expressed from what other realms that exist beyond this physical world that we can see and touch. So I'm very open to that in my work, and
right.
I see that and that feel you feel that coming through. So
Absolutely. It's to double back for a second. When you were starting with your art journaling and that was sort of bringing you back into here, into creating and making, was that, did you find the same thing? Were you always able to allow what needed to come through? Or did you start off with sort of a controlling, like, I know that for me, when I was first painting, there were things that I painted that I was like, I hated them because I was doing I was like, oh, it feels really rigid and it wasn't going off the page and I wasn't really making a mess. How did that evolve for you? Did it start with you just being able to, or did you have to work into that?
it's funny. I took a one of my first ever classes was a watercolor class, and we had to go out into town, take a photo or two, a lot of photos. This was before digital photos, so we even had to have them printed then, bring them back to the
Right.
next class, and sketched out and drew exactly photorealism of what we made what we painted was what we saw in the photo. So you had
Okay.
to do perspective and shadows and shading. It was like, wow, this is hard, but I could do it. It's good. The
Okay.
next watercolor class I took, excuse me, totally different teacher. And she's like, just paint from your heart, whatever you feel like. And there's no rules, no boundaries. I was like, "Oh, I don't know what am I supposed to do? But that's where I really dove into color, and my colors became really bold. And in watercolor, sometimes that's hard to do. And there was an older man in the class that told me, I'm not sure this is your medium. And doing this, and I took it like, oh, I'm not supposed to be an artist. I just was crushed. And he's like, no, 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 no. You need a different kind of paint that can express the colors that you're trying to express, and watercolor may not be. And that's when I found acrylics. But it was like this aha moment of, oh, I have so much freedom as long as I let myself. In a class, it took somebody to give me that permission, but then that was just like a green light to go ahead. And even the classes I became attracted to were about intuitive painting and not about how to create something, a realistic painting. So I just naturally, I went in that direction. Yeah.
I love that. And that's a great segue. It's one of the things my daughter and I were both looking at your work. She was sitting with me as I was going through, and I was like look at these works, and she was absolutely in love and picked out like many that she was like, that's amazing and that's amazing. One of the things that's so beautifully done is your color. You have these tones, whether it's the blues and the greens, that the way you bring color together is incredible and invites you in. And on top of that, so much of your work has this almost this feeling of light and dark. Like, do you think that comes from where you are in the world and the way that, if you step outside, how the light is? Like, where does all of that inspiration come from? Or again, is that something intuitive that's just coming through you?
Yeah, that's a great question, because the colors, I feel like that's not something I actively sought to learn or figure out. Again, coming from a tradition where there were no rules, I could just explore and discover. But I've always loved Marc Chagall's paintings, and I've been inspired by him and referred to him again and again as like a key inspiration and foundation of my art, because he's very mystical in his paintings. Beings fly through the air, defy gravity, the colors and the way he blends the colors. So that I feel like that has continued, and I keep exploring color kind of with that in mind, with his inspiration.
That's really beautiful. Yeah, I could see that. I can absolutely see how that would be an influence in your work and inspiration. But your work in and of itself is just it is very you have this way of bringing the viewer in, so it feels like you're becoming a part of a story.
Mm.
Very much so. Was that intentional? Is that something that when you're creating, are you thinking of who might see this, or are you able to focus on this is just simply something that needs to come through for me?
Yeah, I feel like it just comes through. I don't have when I try to focus on, like, I have an idea and I want to make it happen.
Yeah.
Those paintings never seem to turn out well, and I get frustrated with them.
Yeah.
And when I stop trying to make them something and just let the painting speak to me, let whatever voice is there coming through, they
Yeah.
just tend to be better. And even that applies to the colors.
Yeah.
When I let the colors kind of like call me, oh, you need some blue here, instead of using my brain saying, oh, if I look at it analytically, oh,
Yeah.
it probably needs some light over here, dark over here. It's just more like it's a feeling. Like my body's like, no, just grab the magenta for whatever reason, right? I mean,
Right?
it's taken me a while to trust that, and I still will come up with ideas and work on them, and I'm like, whatever. But when my own way, that's when I feel like the most magic happens. Yeah.
That I love. I'm so happy that you said that. It's when I would create for a while, I would get very stuck on who my audience was. Like, I would be thinking
Right.
about, okay, I want to use. I'm gonna try today to put these colors together, and I'm gonna send it out, and I'm gonna see what people think of it. And it was weird to do this dance where I wasn't listening to myself at all. So you said something, and you've said it a couple times, and it's so beautiful. Is that idea of self trust? And I think that ends up becoming a muscle, and I'd love to hear what you think about that. But um, is your practice, is it, do you practice consistently? Are you a painter who sit, or a mixed media artist who sits down and says every day at this time I am going to make something? Or what works for you in order to build that? Because I think however you're working also builds that level of self-trust that's so needed.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a muscle. And it's taken a lot of time for me to learn to recognize it and trust it and then keep going and not give up.
Okay.
But I worked for, over 20 years in a career and in an office and was out of my house every day. And so art always had to be later in the evenings. And it was harder to make that time. And raising and my son, and he was younger at the time. So it was always something on the side. But 3 years ago, I left my job and I decided it was time finally. I'm not getting any younger. I have to devote my life to my art.
Okay.
And I assumed it would be workshops and painting. And I did all these workshops and I was like, oh, art's still on the side to I really wanted to just make art. And so about a year and a half ago, I decided it was time. Just no workshops. I'm going to sell art. I'm going to do all the things I need to do to figure out how to make a living as an artist. And so that drive somewhere within me, I have now found I'm in my studio 5 days a week minimum. And I have a show coming up in July. And so I'm in there every day, every evening. I am so grateful that I have the time
Yeah.
to really dive into my practice and see how it develops and see what I'm capable of.
Right.
This is, to me, a really exciting time of giving myself the space to just say no to the other things around me and other engagements and people. Even it's like I'm just going to dive into my work right now, and I've never done that, and I feel it's filling me up in ways I never even anticipated. So it's really amazing.
That's magical. First of all, congratulations on making that decision and really going in, all in on yourself, on your work. Like that's huge. That takes such courage. Was this a decision that took a long time? And was it hard when you did it? And how did you just say, nope, this is it, I'm going?
Yeah, it was very long time coming, and I seriously started painting a lot in about 2012, and really devoted more time to that. And I've done some mixed media things also along the way, and so did that. But the job was just as fulfilling as the job was, and had become even more fulfilling the longer I was there because I had new roles and new responsibilities and it gave back to the community. It was still not what I wanted to be doing. It was still this voice of like, when are you going to do your art? And so it was terrifying. It was probably the most terrifying thing to do, to set a date,
Right.
give notice, and then have to figure out, okay, well, I had no plan except I'm going to make art. And workshops, that was the practical side. I'm going to teach.
Right.
And I did those things. And still, it was like, yeah, there's still this voice saying, you're not doing it all yet. And so to find that courage to just do it, and I still don't have all the answers, and I still am learning every single day about what it means to be an artist. And I'm participating in other groups and learning from other people. I have mentors, but it's still terrifying. But I know I'm on the right path finally. And
Right.
I'm all into synchronicity, and I get so many
Mhm.
synchronistic hits and I pay attention, and it's like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I feel totally supported in that. And it's
Right.
something that when people ask, people want to know more concrete answers. Like, well, what are your goals? Where are you going to be in 5 years? I'm like, I can't tell you. I don't
Mhm.
know. All I know is I have to trust my intuition and my gut and just do this work right now.
Right.
And that trust and that muscle has come from also my creative practice. And so I just feel
Mhm.
like they've really come together and intertwined, and so are feeding each other at this point. Yeah.
That is, I mean, it's amazing and magical. And I, the trust that you have in that voice, you referred to that voice several times. And was it really quiet for a while? How did you learn? How did you know to trust that? I mean, obviously building through your practice, But prior to that, it was sitting there in the back somewhere being like, hello.
And let me be clear, it's not completely gone. The voice of like, "Oh, what are you doing? Are you cra are you crazy? You have no plan?" That voice is still there also, but I don't know how I became so confident in trusting it. It with time, for sure with time, and knowing that I'm getting older and life, I if I'm lucky, I have another third of my life left that I cannot wait to explore, but there's no guarantee in that. When you're younger, I think you're just caught up in the day-to-day, like you just take it for granted that you're going to just do the things and do the things and do the things, and suddenly I'm at this age where like I can see the end. I get it. I know there is a finite time, and what am I going to do for that finite time? And so I think that really helps drive making this really scary choice to just focus on something that I don't know or have a lot of experience in, professionally anyway.
Right.
So, yeah.
Do you think that ends up being a help when you're sort of like, I think sometimes people get into places where they're like, well, I know exactly how this is going to look and exactly how this is going to work. And I've been doing it forever. When you have to step into that beginner's mind again and be like, I don't know. And it's pretty, the future is like literally saying the 5 year plan. I don't really know. I love that, by the way. I want to put it on my wall. Like, I just love it. It's brave and courageous and inspiring as hell. But like, when you're is the being in the beginner's mind and learning from other people and continually taking the steps into the unknown, is that invigorating? Does that keep you going? Like, is it
Absolutely. So it's always been, I think that's been a kernel of who I've always been,
okay?
that I'm going to try new things. I love exploring. I love finding new opportunities, new challenges. I'm constantly pushing myself. And whether that was in the structure of a job, a 9 to 5 job, or personally, I've always been that person. And so I think having a son, working in a career, that side of me had to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
And son has launched and not living here anymore. I've got empty nest, and I just feel like, oh, I get to kind of reclaim that side of myself that got to live this way, that got to make these choices and have this freedom to not always be planning, to not always have concrete steps, but to see what comes along and where I end up. And I think that beginner's mind, I'm more open to things coming. I've had plenty of 5 year plans, and I can show all the times that they didn't work out also,
Yes.
because life is not predictable like that, I find.
Right.
And I laugh at myself because I was so sure in some of those plans that I
Okay.
would like talk about, oh, well, in 5 years, I will see that this plan is so sure. It's like I was just so convinced that I could map out my life and have complete control.
Yeah.
And it's
Yes. I was right there.
not, yeah,
Just
work like
kidding.
that. Like that. So back in this beginner's mind, now I can see an opportunity and be like, well, that wasn't in my plan, but let's see what happens. Let's be curious. And so curiosity has been my best friend for most of my life. So, yeah.
I love it. Literally have that written down for myself as one of the things I really am leaning into this year again, because I feel like I lost that being more, planning and focusing and all the things
Yeah.
that I curiosity is incredible where it will take you if you just let it. And I don't know how we forget that as kids. It's kind of being out of us as like somewhat adults, but I'm really over the adult roles. So yeah, I like the curiosity part.
Done adulting. So done.
Done. Finished.
You all go an adult over there. I'm going to be over here playing. So,
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's exactly it. Great lines. You have had these incredible experiences where you have gone to Japan, and
yes.
this was, all around art. And I want to hear about this too. And Mexico. These two things, were these things that came up that you were like, I want to do this, or were these things that came up that you were like, hey, this looks good. I'm going to try this.
Yeah, more the second for sure. But
Okay.
context, in my 20s, I lived in Japan for 2 years. I taught English there. I lived in Eastern Europe and taught English there. I am a traveler. I backpack through Asia. And
Right.
so there is this wanderlust side of me that loves being in other cultures and places and learning and seeing the world from another perspective. That is absolutely a part of me. So as I started following my art path, I saw this opportunity for an art fair in Tokyo. And I was like, oh, I'll never get in. I'm brand new at this whole, and I got in and I was so
Ah,
shocked. Oh, what? So I had to figure all that out,
right.
but it was my first time back to Japan in all those years. And so it was such an amazing feeling to go back as an artist instead of as an English teacher and to take up that space in the world. It was just, I could not believe that that was my life. I made it happen though. And I had to be like, okay, good job. It didn't just fall in my lap. I had to work hard and to really get ready for it. And I had to invest a lot of money in it to make it happen,
Right.
but it was such an amazing time. And, I didn't make a lot of sales. So there was that side of it. But at the same time, I could balance it out with like, look what I've done. Look what I've
Yeah.
created in my life. I did this. And so Mexico, that has been, I don't know where that came from. I mean, it somehow snuck into my world. And I sit in my dining room and I look around. I'm like, I have a lot of gifts and things from Mexico. This is kind of, maybe I should be paying attention to this. Gifts
Okay.
from people in my life.
Right.
So then I knew everyone to do an artist residency. And I had kind of put the idea like, okay, that's something to work for, towards, to think about, but not yet. And then all of a sudden and I looked at residencies in Mexico and I didn't really see anything that felt like a good fit. And then of course somebody out of the blue is like, oh, I'm doing one in Spain. You should go to this website. And I found this one and it was like, oh, I could totally do that one. And it was such a transformative experience. I spent a month there in September last year. And it was a place I may not have gone to necessarily, just based on what I knew about it. And yet there I was in this town that I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so it completely blew me away. And I just paid attention to the synchronicities that kind of lined it all up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, and then I got to go back again this past March and April, and it was even more mind blowing and more of an experience than I would have never planned that in my
That's
life.
amazing.
But like, I'm so glad I listened and paid attention to that. So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
What did you learn? What did it open for you?
It reminded me of who I am, how much I love to be in a foreign country, and how much I love seeing life through a different lens because
Hmm.
I'm a sensitive person. I'm very thin skinned. I feel a lot around me. And it's been tiring especially in these times. I'm just so tired. I absorb so much from everything around me. And so to be there though, it was like I was tapping into this side of me that is I've always loved.
Right.
And when I can look at the world outside of my own comfort zone, I get kind of bored. Not bored isn't the right word, but it's so easy, for example, just to go to the grocery store and buy stuff and not, you get, yeah, blah, and you go. But
Right.
in another country, I have to listen really hard to the language and understand verbal cues. And I'm just so much more on and
Yeah.
paying attention, alert.
Yeah.
And it's that heightened sense of being as a person
Right.
that there's something about that. And I cannot put it into words what Mexico has done for me as far as its culture and people and food and language. And I'm just in love. I'm having an affair with Mexico right now. And yeah, I can't wait to go back. Yeah, something about it. I cannot explain it at all. So it's a mystery.
It's a good mystery. I feel like there's a lot more that's gonna come from that. Wow. How did you see your art? Did your art change, deepen? Did you notice anything with how you were creating after? Or
Feel like in a lot of Latin American cultures, the whole idea of what is it called? Uh, the I can't come up with a phrase right now. The magical realism is
oh
so
yeah,
prevalent. The literature and culture there, and even with Mexico, like Day of the Dead, there's just this connection to ancestors and the beyond. It's not only what we see with our eyes, and the senses are so much more. I just feel alive more with all of my senses when I'm there. And so I think that my art, I feel like I've been given permission in that perspective to just be more spiritual in my work and to
Right.
not have it be something I have to worry about what people think, about fitting in. It's like taking it even further. I'm already that kind of person, but this takes me even further into like, here's a whole culture and history of not explaining away the way the world works and being curious about the mystical side of life. And so it's absolutely tapped into and coming through now in my art. So I
Right.
can like I think I was even like permission, like, here, just go. What are you holding back for? Just start. This is what you need to be doing. And that's
Yeah.
some voice there. It's like, and I'm listening. So it's
Yeah.
been really
You're like, I'm in. I love it. Yeah. You mentioned your senses, how
exciting.
it brings your senses alive. Is there ever a time when you like want to create and can't get in? You're like, either don't feel the motivation or, self doubt creeps in or any of those things. How do you find your way in? Is it through your senses? Is there a portal? Like there's so many beautiful portals in your work. Is there a portal that you go through to be like, okay, this is how I'm going to enter?
Yeah, I definitely have kind of, the muse has left the building.
Mhm.
And what I find has been really helpful is to just get my butt in the studio and pull out a canvas and just start slapping paint around. And it doesn't have to be anything, it's just the act itself. Just
Yeah.
make a mess and just have paint on my hands or a brush, in my hands. Just do something. And that often quiets that monkey mind of saying, oh, I can't do it. Oh, I am not creative, because that voice is still absolutely present for me.
Right.
At less so, which is nice. But when it does, I do find it, if I just get myself in there,
Right.
I find with enough time, it can give way to something more creative. Yeah. And let something through then. Yeah. But it's part of the process, I think.
Yeah.
It's to be expected almost. It's like, yeah, there are going to be days when, maybe I just need to go for a walk instead. And then I can come back focused, and that's okay. And just to accept that as part of the creative process, that it's not all production. You have
Yeah.
to do that whole, what is it, fill your artistic well, right? From
Absolutely.
what's that book called, right? That everybody's read years ago. But you have to give yourself time to just fill up with the good things in life and that brings you joy and pleasure without always doing. I think
Yeah.
the focus on doing and being productive all the time is just, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
So
had a lot of I've had a lot of conversations about that recently too. This idea. Sorry, my face is like bright red. It's just this hot. There's, I've had a lot of conversations recently about the idea of production and how we live in a society that just tells us that should be producing all the time, and it's not sustainable in any way, just as you said. And I think it really takes away from the your creativity itself. Like it can feel so depleting that it's like, well, who am I making this for and why? And I'm exhausted and I don't have anything. And like just getting out and, like you said, even making marks, just starting,
yeah.
will allow you to continue, um, which is, we all need that on certain days. um, I have a quote that I wrote down that you have on your site that I think is absolutely exquisite. I put it in my journal. Um, you said, my work resists despair through beauty, play, and the belief that imagination is a vital tool for dreaming new futures into being. Like,
Mm.
that's gorgeous.
Thanks,
Um,
Natasha.
seriously, um, dreaming new futures into being. That just jumps even off the canvas and out of the art into life. Have you been able to, like, the dream, have you brought more dreams to life than this? You're bringing so much to life right now. Where have you seen other things pop up off your canvas?
Yeah, well, I think going to Mexico is a good example of that.
Right?
Follow that voice that doesn't make sense, and paying attention and going towards something like that just brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
And that quote really right now relates to my work, that the current world we're in, things feel like it's a huge mess right now, obviously, in this country, and things are falling apart. But I believe underneath at the core that there is so much waiting to be born and expressed that is so different than what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
And that to only be focusing on the chaos and the grief, we have so much grief, we have so many things right now to
Yeah.
grieve, but we can't forget that there's also underneath that, we are still humans, and
Mhm.
humans throughout all the years, all the things that have happened, there's always been this creation and beauty and joy, and that we can't forget that. And I intentionally don't want to forget that during these times. And I think it's more important than ever.
Yeah.
And so that, because if we give in completely, they win. But if
Mhm.
this is me, my way of fighting back, of like, no, I refuse to let you kill my joy in life
Mhm.
and my for living. And I want more than anything to express that through my art, through myself, with others, to help others and inspire others to find that spark within themselves. Because if we're all doing that,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, we already have, to me, this is that kind of through line of the mysticism, that there are beings out there that want us to, I don't mean like alien weird, I'm not going that direction. I just, we are only part of this planet, and there's so much that we can't see with our own eyes, and that if we can tap into that and listen, that we can bring forward this whole other way of living, that we're not just focusing on taxes.
Yeah.
Right, it's like whole other way of being as humans that is just wanting to be expressed. And so that to me is, it really drives who I am as a person right now, and my paintings and my work. And I guess I just want to, that's my message right now, I guess, of find the beauty and the joy and express it somehow, you know.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. I have goosebumps. I always say if I get like tears and goosebumps, it's all that truth coming out. That is spot on. It's so needed, and what a message to send out into the world. I just love it.
Thanks, Natasha. Thanks.
With painting was that first thing that drew you in, and you have mixed media with it. Did you ever feel like you had to choose? Or did you feel like, no, this is all part of my progression, my journey, what I'm supposed to be learning? How do you balance those?
I think at different points I thought I was supposed to choose, that it has to be one or the other. That, you know, to be a serious artist, you need to have one body of work and really focus on that. But I've come to believe that I have so many ways to express myself, and that I don't want to limit that. When I'm doing mixed media pieces, there's something. It's so relaxing. It's physical with my fingers, of like making, gluing, and creating in that way with a paintbrush and a canvas. It feels a little more structured. And
Right.
so, and that the canvas needs to be something, because paintings are a thing that need to be, where mixed media collage or mixed media assemblage or the paper mache work that I'm doing now, it there's more freedom and less rules, I feel like, around that. And so those two things I go back and forth between, but I feel like actually I don't have to choose them. I can do both because they both feed different parts of me. And so I've really embraced that, especially recently. And so at this show coming up in July, I'm going to have both. I will have paintings and I will have paper mache sculptures. And so it's like, oh, I get to do both. I don't have to choose. And they're going to speak to each other, and it's still going to be a body of work, but
Right.
I get to play in all the different ways. So yeah.
I love that. Can you talk a little bit about that show? That was a beautiful segment. I was going to ask about that. What is happening? Because it's the dates were, wait, July, I had them in 26th through August 15th. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is my first ever solo show. I'm so excited and honored to get to
Congratulations.
at Shoebox Arts in Los Angeles. And it's exactly what you were seeing on my website and what I'm doing right now. It is this idea that animals have agency, and we and other beings, non-human beings, have agency. And that if we can listen and help give voice to that. I think that there's going to be so much of a different way of being in the world that can come through, and that can inform how we live. And so this show is about it is having animals and paper mache creations so that you are immersed in an experience with them and interacting with them, and then you're surrounded by portraits of these fantastical colorful animals on the walls who also have a message to tell you if you listen. And so I feel like it's me giving them voice to express what their message is for us if we would only listen, but it's doing it in a way that is joyful and fun and colorful and bright and a little bit kid-like even.
Right.
And so I that's what my show is going to be. And I love immersive art experiences,
Hmm.
and so hoping that that's I can offer that. You're not just coming to look at paintings on a wall, which of course I still love to do that as well, but this way you're really interacting with the art. And I have a couple very exciting pieces that I'm big paper mache pieces that will take up a lot of the room. So I'm really excited about that.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. This is exciting. You're speaking my language with immersive art. I love being immersed in an experience that's more than like, and I'm not talking about, and there's nothing wrong with them, but the Instagram ones where it's like you just take a picture. Like I just love being in it and feeling like there's an entire world. So I
Right.
this is exciting, and the idea that there's like messages if you listen, if you can
Yeah.
like get quiet and be with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this idea of finding joy and beauty and bringing that through, that's for me what I hope this show represents, that it can be a joyful, playful experience
Right.
and become into something different. Um, and it's not so serious. And I'm intentionally creating that, I feel. Yeah.
Wonder feels like a very big part of your work too. How do you cultivate wonder in your life?
I mean, again, that's kind of the wraps around the curiosity
Hmm.
and staying open
Right.
and um, yeah, trying new things. I feel like that's during COVID, I started studying Spanish, and that's been something that was just an example of I don't know why it's just something to do during COVID, but it's
Right.
stuck, and it's really now helping me to again a beginner's mind.
Hmm.
And that all ties into the wonder. It's also the wonder of like, why are we here as humans? Why does this planet exist? What's behind it all? It's not just cut and dry to me. And I'm not looking for one solid answer that I need a definitive, this is why we're here. I love the questioning of it. I love conversations about, what does exist beyond this planet or what we can see and experience. What other realms are out there. And so anyway, that's for me, that is how that wonder all ties. It's a big mysterious world. And how can we not wonder it? Like everything. I mean, even the crap that's going on right now, it's like, why does that happen? Why,
Right.
how everything and not just dismiss one of, but the whole package of why do we create such adversity, for people. Why as humans? I mean, I take it to everything, every stone gets unturned um,
Right.
in my life because I want to examine and talk about it all constantly.
That's amazing.
We're my friends and family sometimes, but
But it makes for incredible art, which then opens up another kind of conversation, which is incredible. And I love that. And I can't wait to see what this show opens up for you. Because I feel like every time you take this a new step, there's like something that you're like, well, all right, yeah.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's how I feel like it is. Every time I say yes to something, then it takes me to the next thing. And I don't know what that is necessarily, but that's to me, that's the magic of this path that I'm on right now. And so I love that this timing worked out to have this conversation, this chat, because I feel like this is a really good moment for me artistically. I feel like I am just getting started and, I have no idea all the different things awaiting me, but I'm really excited to see what comes along. So,
Love that. There's a lot. So you said when you say yes, do you ever have to say no?
uh, yeah, for sure. because I can't do too much. I
Yeah.
can't do everything.
Right.
And easy to see the carrot dangling of this is what you're supposed to do as an artist. So maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to catch myself and like, don't chase all the shiny objects. I only have time in a day. And some of them may not be actually what I need to be doing right now.
Right.
And it's there's I think pressure as like what you should be doing as
Hmm.
an artist and a career and a path. And so it's finding out, well, what kind of artist am I? What do I want to be doing? What are my aspirations as an artist? And so to keep reminding myself and aligning myself with those and not um, doing other things because they're going to look on a resume or
Right.
that get more credibility in the art world if I would do that. But maybe that's not going to feel very good if I do that versus this. So
Right.
it's paying attention to that.
I
Yeah.
love that it speaks to who you are too. It's that idea of, well, first of all, sometimes if you say no, it's going to open up to a much bigger yes, which I think you've seen. But also, um, I just love how you're aware of the shoulds. I
Yeah.
had a conversation recently about this, about the shoulds. Like the moment you hear should, run. Like
Yeah.
it's just nope. And I love that you push that aside because I feel like that is what is allowing you to create this incredible path of your own.
Yeah.
That's not the same as everybody else's. That makes the conversation with you really interesting and something that I'm going to walk away from and like 3 hours from now, I'm gonna be like, oh, I really, I'm gonna email her because I'm wondering about this. Like, it's extremely inspiring, and it really does. I feel even just talking to you, like my heart is more open. Like I am more curious. That I just want more, and I think you're an incredible inspiration and a great rebel, by the way. Like serious.
Thank you. I was thinking related to the no,
Yeah.
I've had a lot of no's in the art world as I've found this path and been on this path. And it's been really hard to remember I'm in it for the long game. I'm not going to give up. But I know I can see and I get it. Sometimes in the moment it's really hard to remember, but I get that a no means that's not for me. There's something else for me. And so, though you haven't been accepted to this show or you haven't been given this opportunity, there's something else waiting. And to try not to take it personally because art expressing ourselves through art is so personal and
Right.
it is hard to remember to not always take it personally and it's just not you may not be a right fit for something but
Right.
that doesn't you're not going to be a right fit for something else coming along over here
True.
and so I've been getting that muscle's been getting worked a lot because over the
Right.
past 10 years I've had lots of things not work out
Right.
or no sales at something or it's
Yeah.
so it's but the more I do it, the longer I've been doing it, the better I've gotten at remembering that there's a yes waiting somewhere. And
Yes.
you're going to be surprised by the yes, as a matter of fact, if you just pay attention. So,
Yes. It's true. There's and I'm not gonna be able to remember who said it, so I apologize if somebody out there knows. That's great. You can say it, but the a no is not a rejection, it's a redirection. And I
exactly.
love that idea so much. And you're like living that. Just saying, nope, this wasn't for you, but look at what has found you that was for you. Much bigger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Is there, as we come to the end of our call, which I don't want to, I could talk to you forever.
Where we
Um,
keep going.
what is there anything you want to share with folks? I'm gonna put when I send this out all links to come and visit your amazing artwork and see what you have going on. But is there anything you want to share? You want people to know? Any message you want to leave?
Gosh, I feel like we have covered a lot.
We
And
have.
yeah, I guess really my underlying foundation of life is I want to be of service somehow and it's feels selfish to be an artist and have that be how I can be of service is my art but I feel like creative expression is so important for
Yes.
everyone no matter what kind of expression that is food baking and making food can be an expression It doesn't have to be the visual arts or fine arts. But I guess that's my message, is just to encourage everyone to find what their creative spark is and to just try it and explore and keep that as a part of your life. Um, yeah.
I love that. And you creating and making and opening spaces and places where people can dream and imagine and be inspired gives other people permission. So
Mm, I
it's
hope
not
so.
at all selfish. It's a beautiful service that you do give because you give permission to express, and we need more people expressing themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Thanks for seeing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here with me today. This has been an amazing conversation. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm probably going to email you this stuff.
Yay!
For-
Please, I love this conversation. I can talk about creativity forever.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Um, for everyone who's been here, thank you so much for coming and joining today. If you have any questions that maybe you didn't feel like asking in the chat just because you were listening and thinking, or maybe you were making art while you were listening, it's my hope, that I will be sending this out. So feel free to leave any comments or reach out to India and share your thoughts. And please check out her art because it is just, it's going to inspire you. I promise you'll be inspired, not just from this conversation, but from all the beautiful things that she creates. And that's it. I'm going to say thank you. Take
You.
care, and let's stay in touch. And we're going to come back around. I want to hear what it's like after your show, too. That's exciting to have your first solo show. Woo!
Thanks, Natasha.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.